Welcome back, and what an honor to have with us today Rob Maness. He's a retired U.S. Air Force colonel, decorated combat veteran, author, and political commentator. During his military career, he received numerous honors, including two Legions of Merit and Bronze Star for combat leadership. Colonel Maness later ran for the U.S. Senate there in Louisiana and now hosts the Rob Maness Show while leading grassroots and political initiatives through what they call the Iron Liberty Group and the Gator PAC. He's also the author of a fascinating book entitled What You Can Do About It. And there's a picture of the book on the screen there, What You Can Do About It. And he does have a website, Rob Maness, that's MANESS.com. robmaness.com. Colonel, good to see you. How are you, friend?
Hey, Perry. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Where are you? Where are we talking to you from?
I am currently in Gulfport, Mississippi. We moved over here, built a house looking out at the Gulf of America about 4 years ago.
Okay. How's the fishing?
It's fantastic, actually. Oyster season just ended, by the way, and the local oystermen are doing a fantastic job. I support them, and in spite of some of our politicians that don't.
That's great. That's great. Well, thanks for your time, and thank you for your service. An honor to have you, sir. What led you to write the book?
You know, when I first ran for U.S. Senate, I started in 2013, and almost immediately people were asking me to if I had written a book or would write one eventually. And it took me over 10 years to get there, but I finally did because I didn't want to just do a biography. I wanted to leave something in the book that individual Americans could pick up and have as a useful tool, so to speak, as a way of thinking and acting and getting things done and answering the question that I've been asked the most often, whether I was at a commander's call in the military or a town hall in the community or at a political rally when taking questions is when the American people are worried about a specific issue, the question is, well, what can I do about it? And I think especially on the conservative side of the aisle here in the United States of America, we get out-organized by the left. We get outfunded by the left, and people need to understand that there is no cavalry going to come to save us. We are the cavalry, and that's why I wrote the book.
Some of the things you write about is how the right will settle for small victories while the left is planning way down the road. Explain that.
Yeah, the best example is what's happened in the last 24 hours in Indiana. The Republicans in the state legislature that opposed the redistricting effort that President Trump called for, the majority of them have been defeated in their primaries. That didn't come from a bunch of big corporations. That came from activists on the ground, led by folks that are from Indiana in organizations like Turning Point USA, Turning Point Action's political arm. I know organized that, TP USA, TP Action, put a lot of money into it, but it's the people that organized that and said to themselves, what can we do about it? When they saw that those maps were defeated by Republicans, they set about to organize. They raised the money. They put their candidates out there and they supported those candidates. And now all but one of those Republicans has been defeated, and they're going to pass those maps. And you know what else is the trickle-down effect and consequences of that action? Already today, Tennessee has now passed a map out of committee, removing the dastardly Steve Cohen out of his seat. And I praise God that is happening because he is an evil man. And South Carolina was on the edge. Their governor was actually saying he wasn't going to do anything, but the pressure that the young folks in Indiana out of Turning Point Action that did that organization and successfully defeated all those Republican candidates in their primaries and removed them is having a positive effect, because just before coming on here, I saw a red map out of South Carolina that's come out of committee. So good things are happening because a small group of young men and women, in this case in Indiana, got together and asked that question and answered it. What can I do about it?
That's marvelous. I can tell you, as a former chairman of the Oregon Republican Party for 4 years, one of the greatest battles you have is what we call rhinos. And are they being weeded out?
Well, we have an opportunity to do it. When I came into politics, the rhino problem of Republicans running on one thing and getting elected and doing the opposite and siding with the Democrats most of the time is why I was asked by a small group of veterans to actually challenge Bill Cassidy and Mary Landrieu in the 2014 jungle primary in Louisiana, and why we did it. It's been a long battle, but we are starting to see the horizon over the mountains, and the sun is coming up. And I think we have finally woken enough people up to realize that they've got to do the things that I talk about in the book. What can I do about it to get to victory and remove people from office that are Republicans that are really acting more like Democrats than Republicans and not voting for their people first and their state and their country first? They're voting for some political policy or budgetary policy that keeps them in power. But now I think we're there.
Colonel, what do you think the second term of the Trump administration has had on Republicans?
What effect has it had on Republicans?
Yeah.
It's hard to tell at this point, Perry, because, the president, a lot of people look at his endorsements, and the president's goal is to maintain his ability to get legislation passed and legislate a lot of his executive orders, because he saw the first time that Joe Biden eliminated every executive order on the first day, and the President Trump's team didn't get a lot of legislation passed to codify those. One of the things that he is doing is he is trying to keep his power base in place in the Congress so that he can get that legislation passed. And he's been more than moderately successful. The big beautiful bill had a lot of pieces of legislation in it, but we've got a big challenge right now. The Save America Act is continuing to struggle when 80+% of the American people demand that it get passed so that we can have secure and reliable elections with integrity, so that our focus is not on whether the right people won or not, but on doing the right thing for the American people in our states. And that's the effect the president's having. And I think he's being more than moderately successful at it. But we've got some work to do. If we can get some new Republicans that are America First policy Republicans that believe in what most of the American people believe in elected, that'll help President Trump a whole lot. But he's got to balance who he supports and who he doesn't by trying to maintain that power base. And it's a difficult thing to do when you're president of the United States and you have that much, because he has a more than unusual ability to win when he endorses somebody, from what I could tell.
I guess it's just mind-boggling, Colonel, that we have 4 Republicans in the Senate that want to vote against voter ID. You kind of scratch your brain, you go, what happened? What did they put on their cereal in the morning? What caused this disease?
Well, last time I checked, Bill Cassidy was one of them. That's why I tried to keep him from getting in the Senate in the first place.
Yeah.
And the president has endorsed a candidate that is not without controversy, but I just endorsed her yesterday. Julia Letlow is the congresswoman from northeastern Louisiana right now, and President Trump has endorsed her because she's a fighter. And she's a fighter for the policies that we voted for President Trump on. And we've got to remove the Bill Cassidys of the world from their power position, because they don't just represent themselves. Bill Cassidy was a Democrat before he decided to run for office the first time. He actually was a maximum donor to Mary Landrieu, the Democrat that we were running against in 2014 when he won the Senate. So we've got to get rid of those kind of people, because they don't understand that the American people only vote for one office federally that they're all voting for. And the state electoral colleges confirm those votes in the electoral college vote, and that's the president of the United States. So they're trying to represent their power, their desire to stay in office perpetually, and the American people have had enough of it. That's why Donald Trump was overwhelmingly reelected, even after a gap in a term. and all of the legal issues that have been faked and made up by the Democrats and some Republicans. I'll remind everybody, Bill Cassidy voted to convict Donald Trump in the second sham impeachment, which was an even worse sham impeachment than the first one in his first term. So it's one of those things that we've got to address that. And, this win in Indiana, it'll probably have a positive impact on that issue, Perry.
We Republicans do a good job of getting angry and waving our saber in the air. Then it stops there. it somehow it doesn't turn into a vote. I run a state. I look at this and you just shake your head and you kind of go. And even people of faith, they just don't get out and vote. You kind of wonder, what are we allergic to here?
I'm in beautiful deep South Mississippi, right on the beach, looking out at the Gulf of America is where my front porch is. And of course, it's a deeply Christian, people of faith. And it is many think deeply red. Now, Mississippi's legislature was the last to turn Republican in the South, just 10 years or so ago. So we still have a lot of old school Democrat type thinking going on with that. But I hear you, Perry. That's why I decided to write this book the way I did, using some experiences from my life, yes, but not a biography, as a tool for people to use as a lens to how to view themselves, how to view what makes them mad, because what makes them mad generates the question, well, what can I do about it? And that what makes people mad is the thing that we need to do something besides just rattle our sabers. We've got to organize. We've got to raise funds. We've got to recruit candidates. We've got to recruit and energize activist volunteers and use those funds to pay people to do things like door knocking and putting literature at doorsteps and talking to people and those kind of things. You got to follow through. And I'll tell you, it's tough. Even here in beautiful Mississippi, I've been very disappointed, and I'm on the county executive Republican committee, have been for over 2 years now. Our Republican primary turnout keeps getting worse no matter what we do. It's gone from 10%, a little over 10% when I got here, to the last Republican primary we just had was 8%. And guess what? What? The incumbent has a challenger, and people are unhappy with the incumbent here.
There you go.
And we still can't get folks to turn out. So that is one of the reason why I'm glad the book has finally been released from the Pentagon. I had to get them to clear the manuscript because of some of the stories I had in it. They released it 3 weeks ago. We've got it published because people need these types of things to come from people that have been through the fire, that have an understanding of what needs to happen. And then they have a tool that they can use to help change things. And that's what we're intended to do.
I got to take a quick break, Colonel, but where can they get the book?
You can get it on Amazon. Just type my name in on Amazon, or what can I do about it? And soon, the website page, we got a little bit ahead of ourselves. You'll be able to get it at robmaness.com book.
Okay. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with Colonel Maness in just a moment. What an honor to have with us today retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Rob Maness with us. Check out his book entitled "What Can You Do, or What You Can Do About It." Right there is a picture of the cover of the book, available now at Amazon online, or you can go to his website, robmaness, MANESS.com, and check it out there, robmaness.com. Colonel, obviously what we're talking about here for Republicans is the move from offense to defense, or from defense to offense, I should say. And I've been in enough political debates, and you, since as a candidate, you've been there too. You got to laugh that the left does a good job on blaming you for what they do and getting away with it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just think of the concept of racism.
Yeah.
I talk to Republican office holders a lot, and just less than 5 days ago, one was telling me about how they stopped posting on social media some of the things that I routinely post about which is the racist policies of the Biden administration under diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how it affected every institution in our country, especially the military. He said, the gentleman said, yeah, I was posting about that. And then I started getting text messages from family members saying the media, left-wing media, is calling you a racist. You need to stop. And he stopped. That's not what you should do. If you take a look at my book, what you can do about it, we have a whole chapter in there about canceling your own cancellation and not accepting a cancellation, because that's what they try to do every time. We've made some inroads on that. The Southern Poverty Law Center indictments are now proving how the left has been trumping up things like white supremacy beyond the fringe that it is and has been relegated to forever in this country, and creating fake things. And unfortunately, it's dangerous. You know, a young woman got killed because another young man at Charlottesville was threatened with a firearm, by the way. If you look at the facts, an individual with an AR-15 was chasing him when he drove his car into that crowd trying to escape, and unfortunately killed the young leftist activist that died there. And that young man is in prison. He is in long-term prison sentence to this day because the SPLC created a fake white supremacy riot, essentially. And even Joe Biden said he ran for president, made his decision based on a fake racism charge from the left. So, yeah, you're exactly right. They accuse us of doing what they're doing all the time. And if you don't have to look any further than the racist policies of the Biden administration and what they implemented across this country for 4 years to see that there were policies focused on attacking men, on attacking white folks, and not just attacking them, but preventing them from getting hired in jobs. All of the things that we have written laws to say it's illegal to base a hiring decision on somebody's race or gender specifically, they were implementing and were forcing people against their will to violate their own First Amendment rights of religion and speech by forcing people to buy into a mental illness delusion that a man can be a woman, and forcing people to use the pronouns that were requested by the people undergoing the mental illness. And this is a very serious business. When I have unit commanders' slides, and I could show you these slides, the Army slides leaked out a few years ago. When Army commanders are standing in front of their officers and their non-commissioned officers and telling them that if a woman in a barracks objects to a man saying he is a woman coming into the barracks, it is the woman in the barracks that must be disciplined under military discipline actions, which is more powerful than anything that can happen to you in civilian life, Perry. And it's just despicable that the military justice system was abused and used to harm people and prevent them from exercising their religious and freedom of speech. And it's crazy, and we need to do everything we can to reverse that, and we are.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of this nonsense, Colonel, is hitting the wall now?
It hits the wall, but it's still out there because the media still uses it. The corporate media with the big mouthpieces still uses it. So we got to keep talking. I encourage people to go get the book at Amazon. You can just type in what you can do about it, or my name, Rob Maness, and it'll come right up. Yeah. You can get a Kindle copy or a paperback copy at this point. Hardbacks are coming, and an audio book that I will be reading in my voice is also coming for the book. But it lays out a process for you to take a look at things, figure out how to get organized, raise money, and take action. You got to take action, action, action. We hear people like you on radio and TV all the time saying we have to act. We can't stop it just getting mad about something.
Well, there was a time where the NRC had campaign schools where candidates like you and myself and others could go there and learn how to combat the left's nonsense. They don't do that anymore. The last one I went to was under the leadership of Newt Gingrich, and we actually dealt with these scenarios and how to take, like you said, a cancellation and turn it into a non-cancellation. So right now, your book now looks like that's going to be the tool. But if somebody's thinking about running for office, you ought to get a hold of your book and take a look at this, because, you know, the truth is on our side. The Bible
Absolutely.
says the truth will set you free, not arguments.
I've been through the fire. I've done a live television debate against a 18-year U.S. Senator one-on-one. Before that was Mary Landrieu, and you put the congressman that was running in there twice. And it's pretty well documented that I won every debate because I had good coaching and I was prepared. And I answered that question. Well, what can I do about it? When I was told I had to debate these folks that have been doing this for decades, well, I just went and found somebody that could teach me how to do it, and I learned it, and I beat them. So you can do it. It can be done, and it should be done. That's the more important thing. Perry, it should be done. Unfortunately, the NRCC and the NRSC are now incumbent protection rackets instead of recruiting good candidates to replace bad elected officials or replace elected officials that decide to retire. And that's unfortunate. But I have my book out there. We have my pack, Gator Pack. You can find it at gatorpack.com. And we also support an organization called the Leadership Institute, which I am on part-time faculty for and do speeches for them. And they have candidate academies. It was organized by a great American Republican named Morton Blackwell out of Louisiana, and he still runs it today. And I would recommend folks check out the Leadership Institute too. But get my book first, because a lot of those experiences come out of working with the Leadership Institute folks.
All right, the book is entitled What You Can Do About It, and there is the picture of the cover of the book on the screen there. The Colonel does have a website, Rob Maness, MANESS.com. There's a picture of that landing page. Quickly, Colonel, are you going to run again, or are you just going to stay in the fight?
Well, it's been a few years, but we are in the fight in local and state and national politics. So never say never. Never say never.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for your service. And let's stay connected. You're fascinating.
Thank you, Perry. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right. God bless.